To be honest, we didn't exactly choose the Chaun Field Station. We first came here in 2002 as visitors, almost as people asking for a favor, because we were looking for a place to study the biology of the spectacled eider. What we really needed was a region where their nesting had been scientifically confirmed. Our spectacled eider project officially started in 2003 with support from the U.S. Fish and Wildlife Service. Then, in 2011, we launched a major monitoring program. And that same year, I joined the Institute for Biological Problems of the North, IBPN. And as the saying goes, little by little, I ended up running the station. I brought my own students here and built the infrastructure to support their work. So, on the southern coast of Chaun Bay, in the East Siberian Sea, in the shared delta of the Chaun, Palavam, and Puchvim rivers, on Ayopachan Island, stands the Chaun Research Station, once named Marina after its caretaker. For over half a century, it has welcomed people from many different fields of science. And now, a magnificent Amazon, Diana, with her scientific team, are making global ornithological history here in Chukotka, on the southern shore of the Arctic Ocean. And who better than Chukotka's foremost ornithologist to introduce her young assistants, the next generation of biological stars.
Dasha
joined us back in her second year. My first impression of her was quite striking. A beautiful girl with an impressive piercing and colored contact lenses. It was something completely out of the ordinary for us. We thought she might manage to write one term paper, but surely couldn't become a real scientist. But everything turned out completely differently. Appearances can be deceiving. Dasha is, first and foremost, all about character. She's tenacious, persistent, a goal-driven person, someone who can set and solve problems, who can organize others to achieve those goals. I deeply respect people like that. And one of Dasha's distinctive traits is her love for data. She loves large data sets and wants to become an expert in big data analysis. Today, that's exactly what we want to see in our young researchers. Because being just a field zoologist, running around the tundra counting birds, anyone can do that. The desire to analyze data, work with modern software, engage with statistical environments, master new methods, read about them, and put them into practice, that's not something everyone has.
Я занимаюсь здесь на биологическом Чаунском стационаре канадским журавлем.
I work here at the Chaun Biological Station studying the sandhill crane. Specifically, its migration patterns, population size, range expansion, and breeding biology. What I love is that there's so much talk about science here, about how things work, and that's great. You're constantly immersed in the problems you want to solve, and nothing else matters. That's wonderful.
Следующая Лера, нам она очень понравилась своей рассудительностью, своим спокойствием.
Lera. We really liked her for her level-headedness, her calm demeanor, her enthusiasm as a field researcher, and her ability to work in a team. She has an amazing talent for calming people down while also guiding and organizing the work.
An experiment
with nest shelters has been running at the station for 5 years now. The aim is to find out whether nest shelters improve breeding success in waders.
и прекрасное умение писать.
And she has a wonderful writing ability. She's the kind of student who can take a topic, research it thoroughly, analyze it, and produce an excellent text. Lyra is a true, I'd say, classic scientist. Someone who could become a serious waiter specialist, mastering various aspects. Over 3 years, we've been working steadily. I'm learning new things, mastering different methods.
Ну, Игнат — это случай...
Ignat represents what I'd call a once common, but now very rare case. A student who arrives having already taken part in an ornithology club in St. Petersburg during high school and enters university knowing full well that he wants to be an ornithologist, and specifically that he wants to study loons. He came with a fire in his heart and a love for a particular group of birds. And people like that are, of course, destined for success.
Потому что такая любовь к объекту и
Because such love for the subject, such burning desire, regardless of any circumstances, to run out and study, observe, and understand. Ignat, with youthful enthusiasm, wants everything. He wants to study it all at once: genetics, migration, breeding biology, habitat distribution, and the factors influencing it, including various lake parameters like biochemistry, salinity, shape, depth, fish as food sources for loons, loon calls, and their complex social dynamics. What makes the Chaun Station and this particular location so valuable for him is that 4 out of the world's 5 loon species breed here. There are very few such places in the world, mainly western Chukotka and eastern Yakutia. So Ignat is now going to dive into everything, at least initially. And with his passion and energy, I hope he'll accomplish a great deal, at least as much as he's imagined for himself.
Мы делаем искусственные гнезда гагар и журавлей, кладем в них...
We build artificial nests for loons and cranes. We place artificial plastic eggs of matching color into old platforms from this year or previous years, for both the sandhill crane and the yellow-billed loon. Some nests we cover with vegetation. Others we leave uncovered. We want to see how much better the clutches survive when researchers provide cover during visits.
Кладем 2 яйца вот так, они пришпилены, чтобы чайка не могла их унести.
We place 2 eggs, like this. They're pinned down so a seagull can't carry them off. We'll set up a camera trap to monitor the fate of this artificial nest for 3 hours, the time a bird might leave the nest while a researcher is on the survey plot. During that period, the nest remains unattended.
Вот. Ну, Олеся на сегодняшний день, если можно так выразиться, профессиональный волонтер.
Now, Olesya is, if I may say so, a professional volunteer.
Мне просто очень нравится путешествовать, и вот меня случайно сюда занесло.
I just really love traveling. And then, by chance, I ended up here, and it turned out to be a great place. The nature is fascinating. There are all kinds of birds. And there are wonderful people working here. We have a really warm, supportive team.
Человек, обладающий уже огромным опытом работы кольцевания на других.
She's someone with extensive experience in bird ringing at other stations. This is a rare category in our country. People who aren't just bird watchers, and we don't even have many of those, but actual ringers. People who come specifically to ring birds and take part in ringing projects. There are very few of them. Olesya is one of this rare breed of ringer, and thanks to her knowledge, experience, and above all her ringing skills, she's fitted right into our team.
Этот скоро вылупится.
Пищит.
Ну, там очень грустно пищит уже. А этот будет со мной разговаривать? Нет, этот не разговаривает. А этот? Очень тихо, совсем тихо.
А вот по характеру она человек не очень командный, но...
By nature, she's not the most team-oriented person, but her knowledge and skills far outweigh her occasional moodiness, so we're happy to keep working with her. These traits don't diminish her in any way.
Рядом со стационаром уже несколько лет гнездится один и тот же лебедь.
Near the station, the same swan with number 39 on its collar has been nesting for several years now. 2 years ago, something happened to its mate, and it found a new partner. Olesya periodically checked on the nest to make sure she didn't miss the hatching. One day, our dogs followed her. She didn't chase them off, confident that this particular pair wouldn't let themselves be pushed around. In the end, we even had to rescue the dogs from the angry swans.
Сроки насиживания можно приблизительно...
Incubation periods can be roughly estimated by floating eggs in water.
И вот, в очередной раз, придя на гнездо...
On one visit to the nest, Olesya found only one egg, with a chick peeping inside, and no adults around.
Родители увели уже вылупившихся птенцов.
The parents had already led the hatched chicks away. This happens because chicks don't always hatch at the same time. Sometimes the parents return to the nest to warm and collect the remaining chicks, but not this time.
На следующий день Олеся обнаружила...
The next day, Olesya found only a chilled chick in the nest. The parents never came back. She brought the nearly frozen cygnet back to base, and we decided to save it.
Но оживился он у меня в руках, когда я его вынула.
Ну, потому что ты
Я его к себе сначала приложила, потом он запыхался, я убрала его.
2 дня мы грели его грелками и собаками.
For 2 days, we warmed it with heating pads and our dogs.
Кормили смесью гречки с
Fed it a mix of buckwheat and hard-boiled egg, and cared for it in every way.
Девочки, у вас гусь прям вот похож на настоящего стал.
А они сами-то не умеют, у них нет.
Пока он не умеет, но он научится. Если выживет, захочет дальше жрать, он научится.
Неужели говорит, это моя родная
А сегодня родители снова появились на озере.
And today, the parents reappeared on the lake where the nest was. It was the perfect moment to return our little one to the family.
И вот теперь мы сидим и смотрим, как отец заново знакомится со своим сыном или дочерью.
Now we're sitting here, watching the father get to know his son or daughter all over again.
Вот мать с 3 другими.
There comes the mother, swimming towards them with 3 other cygnets.
Большой проект посвящен демографии малого лебедя.
A major project focuses on the demography of the tundra swan. This is one of the most abundant waterfowl species in the Chaun Delta. This year, it's reached an astonishing density, up to 6 nests per square kilometer. Nowhere else in the world does this species reach such densities. And with such crowding, it's naturally fascinating to see what processes unfold within this super dense population. Some swans don't breed at all. They claim territories, build nests, but never lay eggs.
Вот он. Вот он.
Вот он. Выходит. Достань. Глубоко ныряет, кстати, да. Сейчас. Не достала. Достала.
Мы метим лебедей цветными ошейниками.
We mark the swans with colored neck collars, colored leg rings. Each bird gets different markers, and trackers, which are also neck collars. Then we track survival rates across these different marking types. Our starting hypothesis: birds with leg rings suffer least from hunters because leg rings are hard to spot. Birds with bright neck collars should suffer more, since hunters tend to target anything unusual and eye-catching. Birds with white trackers should fall somewhere in between in terms of survival.
Большой проект по прослеживанию миграций.
A large-scale project tracks migrations of waterfowl, shorebirds, and passerines from the Chaun Delta, ongoing since 2016 using GPS, GSM trackers, and geolocators. Hundreds of birds have been tagged with trackers here in the Chaun Delta, and they've shown very interesting results on migration stopovers, wintering grounds, and in particular, on return to breeding grounds, and on the influence of weather factors on migration strategies.
Генетические исследования, понятно, что отловленные.
Genetic research. Samples are taken from captured birds for various types of research, isotopic, genetic, to test and confirm some ideas using genetic methods.
Сегодня кофе допиваем и ставим сеть на Гагару, которую из...
Ну, наверное, та, которая ближняя.
Ну, ты говоришь, там пара территориальная.
Да.
По идее, она должна напасть на белоклювку, если мы ее туда повесим. Да, Лера, тогда твой телефон задействует.
На нем как раз есть запись.
А ты тоже участвуешь. Ну, а Олеся с Дашей, соответственно, на плоты. Там надо судьбы посмотреть.
Я тебе координаты своей Гагары там.
Ага, мониторинговый проект. Ну, помимо того, что на выбранных площадках проводится тотальный поиск гнезд всех крупных птиц.
Monitoring project. In addition to carrying out a total search for nests of all large birds along kilometer-long transects and all nests of waders on smaller plots, 16 hectares, we monitor the nests with visits every 5 to 10 days to determine their fate. Some nests are monitored using camera traps, clutch size, egg size, nesting success. If the nest fails, we try to identify the predator.
Так, это мы написали.
Добрый день, уважаемые коллеги. Я рада всех вас видеть на международной конференции Северо-Западного ветра. Хочу представить вам свой доклад «Канадец захватывает Евразию».
Но это если ты человек. Если ты малый лебедь, и ты прилетаешь в Чаун-Дельту, ну, может быть, немножко раньше, чем наш улетевший вертолет, то ты ощущаешь себя как на 5-й авеню Нью-Йорка. Потому что малые лебеди присутствуют, твои товарищи, как это и соплеменники, присутствуют здесь не просто в количествах, они присутствуют здесь в огромных количествах. То есть популяция выросла в 22 раза. И это все наши чаунские лебеди. Ну, представляете, что в 70-е их тут ходило, может быть, там один там и другой вон там, а теперь их ходит несколько тысяч по этой самой Чаун-дельте. Проект, по которому мы работаем последние 3 года, это мониторинг морских птиц.
Our 3-year project monitors marine birds, meaning we study all trophic levels and the impact of northern sea route navigation on Arctic ecosystems. 4 bird species serve as indicators: East Siberian gull, glaucous gull, spectacled eider, now very rare here, yellow-billed loon, both are red list species.
Для этих видов мы адаптировали наш существующий протокол.
We've adapted our existing protocol for these species. For example, the gull colony is studied using a specific method, collecting pellets and examining plastic found both in nests and in pellets.
Ну вот мы установили петли.
We've set traps, baited them, and are trying to catch enough adult glaucous gulls and East Siberian gulls for sampling.
В данный момент мы наблюдаем, как короткохвостый поморник.
Right now, we're watching a short-tailed skua, a stress-resistant bird unfazed by psychological pressure, land on the bait, peck, and essentially block the glaucous gull from approaching. Despite the size difference not favoring the skua, the glaucous gull circles nearby. Since the bait sits in the center of the trap field, there's still a chance we'll finally catch the long-awaited glaucous gull.
Нет, пока ничего не
No,
происходит.
nothing happening yet.
Ага, есть, попался.
Ah, got him!
На, молодец. Ты зараза. На варежку. Ну и перекручивай.
Вчера уже надевала.
Взятие морфометрии, измерение кольцевания, в том числе индивидуальное мечение для прослеживания дальнейшей судьбы птиц.
We take morphometric measurements, ring the birds, including individual markers to track their fates, and collect blood samples for genetic studies.
И состояние популяционного здоровья, а именно...
We also aim to explore genetic diversity. We also assess population health via blood smears, which reveal changes in blood cell morphology linked to pollution levels in the birds. As everyone at Chaun juggles a million tasks, each person helps colleagues as best they can. Ignat, for instance, always carries a crane kit for collecting genetic samples. Spotting a crane chick in the tundra is extremely rare, so you have to rely on luck. And there's no time for comfort. You plunge into icy water, then surrender yourself to the mosquitoes. That's how field zoologists do science.
Что ты за маленькая ништяк? Что? Давай беги. Все у тебя хорошо. Давай. Убирайте своего дурака.
Not just ornithologists live and work at the Chaun Station. We couldn't possibly tell you about everyone in one film. But we must mention the great paleogeographer Vartanyan. You'll often find him at riverbanks that are being rapidly eroded, his favorite excavation spots.
Вот как раз характернейшие для Голоцена.
These are classic Holocene sediments containing organics, peat, tree remains, shrubs.
Потому что именно в Голоцене, особенно в начале Голоцена, это соответствует самому низу этой террасы.
Because during the Holocene, especially early Holocene, corresponding to the very bottom of this terrace, there was a particularly warm period. Many blame it for the collapse and extinction of some members of the mammoth complex. But we won't say for sure whether that's true. In our case, these two events don't align. In western Chukotka, they don't coincide. But we love these deposits dearly, even though we've already studied them. We've done spore pollen and radiocarbon analyses on them. We think we know everything about them. Yet every year, something new might appear, or rather, fall out. So every year, we check all quaternary deposits along the Ichuvim River for new bones, and they do show up regularly. At the station, he's Diana's deputy for logistics and technical matters, and also her husband. It's to his credit that the station keeps running and that its residents get all-round support.
А вот, господи, вот если так посмотреть, у бизона догнуто, а в эту... Ну, еще вы мне рассказывали про угол.
Прямой угол.
Да. Но идут сами эпифисы, у этого, по-моему, всего два этих таких, ну, наклончика, а в этом лошади три. Должно быть лучше видно, но, в общем...
А Жору мы встретили здесь, на станции.
We met Zora here at the station. The first time we came here was in 2002. He was 4 years old. I even remember teaching him to read. Then, around the age of 13 to 14, he started participating in projects. Now he's a graduate student, and he's already published his first papers written entirely on his own. Once, while giving a fully scientific talk, he mentioned that he was born in the study area.
В районе исследования.
Да, на стационаре я оказался сам не помню когда, потому что...
Yeah, I ended up at the station. I don't even remember when. I'm afraid I wasn't even a year old yet. My grandfather lived in a house here, and I'm from the neighboring village of Ritkuchi. Naturally, I finished school there. At age 14, I spent my first field season, focused on ornithology. Now, one of my main tasks is collecting osteological materials from various animals. And I'd even say, documenting as many records as possible of different species' presence.
Вот это там надо смотреть. То есть где-то остановиться, может быть, 2 раза. Здесь и здесь. Хочется еще Чайкуль посмотреть. Вот эти вот чудесные болота интересны.
Да, да. Мы встаем перед ними, но на косе встаем на этой.
На косе пить что?
Цирилла, да, beautiful lady silk по родословной.
Cyrilla, yes. Beautiful Lady Silk, by pedigree. She's primarily used for finding nests. She detects buried nests of Steller's eiders and common eiders far better than a human can. Her second job is working on wader plots with a rope. The dog walks along with a person holding the rope. Two people pull on the ends, while the observer and the dog walk in the center. This gives us a wider search area. Nests are found more easily, and there's a higher chance that a sandpiper will flush when the dog works alongside a person.
Любимая работа Цирина, конечно, это отлов гусей. Ну, наверное, для любой собаки, потому что это живая птица, это азарт.
Cyrilla's favorite job, of course, is catching geese. Well, probably for any dog. Because it's live prey, it's exciting. It must get their adrenaline pumping. She happily jumps into the boat and rides along. Unlike us, she can smell them. You can clearly see her tail start to wag. As soon as she catches the scent of geese from the shore, you can immediately, without even looking, stop the boat, pull ashore, and you'll definitely find geese there.
Помимо работы непосредственно, вот когда стая в визуальном контакте, собака их видит и
Besides working directly with flocks in visual contact, where the dog sees them and points them one after another, if the terrain is bushy and geese hide, especially adults letting juveniles and mates escape, the dog is simply irreplaceable. You put the dog on a leash and carefully walk through the bushes. A person would never find a hidden goose. The chance of stepping on one is practically zero. With the dog's help, you can catch and ring up to 4 or 5 geese in the bushes. On top of those, you've already spotted visually.
Мы используем собаку в том числе для того, чтобы, если мы
We also use the dog when we need to catch loons, or, say, a brood of swans on a small lake. For example, if you approach the lake from one side, but need to quickly get to the opposite shore to pass a rope over, one person runs around, but they don't have the rope. So you tie the rope to the dog, send the dog off, and she quickly carries the rope to the other side. Then you can swiftly pull the net. Depending on the target. If it's a loon, you drag the net across the lake. If it's a swan brood, you use a large covering net to capture the whole brood. The airplane is another highlight of the Chaun Station. It serves as a base for aerial surveys of waterfowl and shorebirds in the Chukotka north. It usually stops here in transit while working in the high Arctic latitudes, for refueling and rest.
Сейчас, как говорится, целый квест. Вот было бы там получше, так может вот прям выехать на траву.
The world-famous float plane Stirk-1 is a unique tool for modern scientific approaches to studying global avifauna, including in the most inaccessible places. Ignat immediately jumped at the chance to apply new technologies to survey his beloved loons. All you need are a camera, a sharp-eyed ornithologist, and, of course, a top-notch pilot, George, without whom none of this would work. A couple of flights surveying local lakes, and then it's time to move on. And on a lonely island amidst hundreds of rivers, thousands of lakes, and endless tundras, the Chaun Research Station continues its work. The only scientific station along the entire Chukotka coast, with a half-century history. No matter how you look at it, both its residents and all of us are responsible for these rivers, lakes, islands, for the entire coast of the harsh Arctic Ocean, for all of Chukotka, for the whole Arctic, for the entire world, for the universe.
Снова снег, целый день только снег, целый век. Берега заметает снегами пурга, ни души, только крест у скалистых вершин, да крыло белой птицы под белой скалой. Миражу не поверю, закрою глаза. Расскажу, если будет кому рассказать про не жизнь, про не землю и про не весну. Миражи, расскажу вам про вашу страну. Острова белые, снежные острова, понапрасну открытые. Были вы чьей-то надеждою навсегда среди льдов позабытые. Черный дым где-то там, где кончаются льды, а в глазах застывает от ветра слеза. Крик «Земля!» с уходящего вдаль корабля. Капля сна по соленым несется волнам по щеке, по поющим шершавым губам. Как никем не согретая ваша судьба, ваши дни, миражи без меня сочтены. Вы одни в вашей сонной стране не нужны. Острова мхами одетые, острова непроглядно туманные, снится вам тысячелетия миг, когда вы рождались вулканами. Дрогнет лед и гудком позовет пароход к берегам, где когда-нибудь тают снега. За волной сгинет остров, как призрак ночной, в пустоте, где слепая танцует метель. Там вдали шумные балы слетаются в круг. Короли с королевами северных вьюг, и кружит снежный танец до боли в висках. Миражи, я качаюсь у вас на руках. Острова, скрытые тайнами, острова до весны, до свидания. Снова вы необитаемы, снова вы стали самыми дальними.